Yo, do you want to survive in America? These are 10 idioms that are absolutely mandatory to speak good English and survive. Number 1, break the ice. Break the ice means start a conversation. So essentially, when you first, you start interacting with someone and you're talking to someone, that first interaction, essentially, like the first phrases you say, especially like after a period of, not speaking, where there's kind of like silence, is called breaking the ice. Basically breaking the awkwardness is a good way to put it. Starting that nice conversation flow. So, if you're standing in a room with, like, in the elevator with someone and no one's talking and it's, you get a long ride, a little awkward, you start a conversation, say, hey, what's up, man? Oh, the weather, something like that. That's breaking the ice, starting the conversation. Basically breaking that awkwardness, slicing that piercing silence. Number 2, hit the nail on the head. Would that basically hit the nail on the head, which is essentially means that you are getting directly to the point. So it's perfectly correct, directly to the point. So if I'm in a business meeting, right, and I skip all the fluff and just go straight to like exactly what is the problem, what needs to be fixed, I'm hitting the nail on the head. I'm being exact with it. I'm being direct. I'm being correct. Number 3, under the weather. So under the weather is what people say when they mean they're sick, but it's kind of like a very non-specific. So you don't have to be sick. You don't have to have like an actual condition, an actual cold, an actual virus. You could just be feeling off. You could be feeling off from allergies. You could be feeling off from being sick. You could be feeling off from, a hangover, a migraine, whatever. Under the weather just basically means, I'm kind of going through it right now. So that's a phrase that people use basically to convey that they're sick or going through it. That's a big one that you'll see a lot in America. People use it all the time. I know people use it a lot when they call into work. They'll just be like, oh, I'm under the weather. I won't make it in today. Very popular thing that people say. Number 4 would be piece of cake. So piece of cake means that it's very easy. It's very... how to put this? It's extraordinarily simple. Like, it's very simplistic, a piece of cake. So a good example would be if I have like an assignment to do and it's something that I'm really good at, something I already know. It's a piece of cake, right? It's that simple. So I'd use it in the context of, say someone asked me, hey, can you bench 100 pounds? I'd be like, yeah, 100 pounds, that's a piece of cake. Easy work, light work, right? That's the way that people would use that. It just means simple, straight to the point, easy to do. Number 5, spill the beans. So spill the beans or spill the tea. It's another way that people say it. Essentially means that you are dropping the information, presumably something that's like super deep or juicy, essentially. So like, for example, if you have a story or if you have a piece of gossip, people will be like, hey, spill the beans, I want to know. If you're holding in a secret and someone wants you to tell you, they'd be like, hey, spill the beans, drop the tea, something like that. So like, for example, if I recently learned that my buddy was getting married, and then someone heard there was information about them, and they were like, hey, what's up, spill the beans, something like that. Just tell me what's going on, essentially, drop the information. So that's the phrase that people use it. They use that a lot. I'd say nowadays what's more common is spill the tea, but you still see this occasionally. This is a big one that you'll see a lot in America, though. Number 6 would be go with the flow. Go with the flow is very, very, very straightforward, I say. So go with the flow, kind of like, a current just keeps moving. Go with the flow is just stop worrying and kind of just roll with it. That's kind of what that means. So if someone says they're the kind of person to just go with the flow, what they're essentially saying is they don't really care that much. They kind of just do things, they go with whatever other people want. They're pretty chill. So if you're going out with friends and they're asking what the plan is, you're like, I'm just going to go with the flow. Basically means you have no opinion, you don't care, you just go with what's going on. Just move with the flow. No real need for you to voice your opinion. You don't care. You're just moving with what everyone else is deciding. That's a way that people would use go with the flow. But yeah, that's another one that you'll see a lot. With any idiom, the thing to understand in English is people will use it correctly and people will use it incorrectly. Just as non-native English speakers will use things incorrectly, English speakers will sometimes use things incorrectly. We kind of just speak stuff sometimes. To be honest with you, it's just kind of the case. Kind of how it is. Sometimes people just say things. Number 7. cut the chase. So that means basically it's kind of the same as to the point. Cut the chase basically means that you are cutting all the bull. Is a better phrase, I'd say. This is another thing that you'll hear a lot. Cut the bull. Basically, it's like stop with all the flip-flap, the fluff, all the meaningless words. Just give it to me straight. Give it me to direct. So, like, don't give me a whole story. You know, if you're in a business meeting and someone's trying to explain a problem, don't give me the whole story. Just tell me what it is and what needs to be fixed. Like, right now. Cut to the chase. Cut the bull. Cut the BS, whatever variation that you prefer. That's how people would use that. You know what I mean? Get to the point. Get directly to the point. Stop around. On the same page is number 8. So on the same page means that we are in perfect agreement with each other. So, for example, when I'm talking to someone about... If two people are in a relationship, basically, and they're talking through boundaries and stuff, you might say they're on the same page about something. So if it's like, you know, where you're going to take a trip, right? And, you know, one person wants to honeymoon here, the other person wants to honeymoon there, and they come to somewhere that they agree on, you could say that that's like, this is a really bad example, but you could say that they are on the same page as far as that goes. When it comes to, you could say that their political opinions are the same. Their political opinions are the same, you know, they're on the same page about that. They could be like, oh, I'm on the same page about this issue. It just means that they're in perfect agreement with each other. That's what that means. Once again, you'll hear that a lot. I've heard that a lot, especially in the workplace. You hear that a lot. People will be like, oh, just make sure we're on the same page when it comes to this protocol, or, you know, keeping people up to date on this safety thing, that kind of thing. That's basically the premise that you would hear it in. Number 9 is pull someone's leg. That just means that you're bullshitting them, that you're lying. They're like, or joking around with them. They're like, hey, are you pulling my leg? What? You really got in an accident last night? You pulling my leg? You lying to me? That's basically what they're saying. They're asking if it's... They ask you if you're pulling your leg, they mean it's bullshit. And then a good response to that would also be like a common English phrase. You could just be like, nah, man, I'm being dead ass with you. Which means, no, I'm not pulling your leg. I'm being straight with you. I'm being honest with you. So we just used a bunch of those idioms all in one sentence, right? So that's kind of like how an English interaction would go. Like a common slang, natural speaking interaction. And then number 10 is call it a day. That basically means what it kind of sounds like. You're calling it a day. You're stopping whatever you're doing. You're basically crashing. So if you're like, hey, I'm calling it a day, that can mean, oh, you're going to bed. You know, you're shutting down for the day. If you're at work and you say you're calling it a day, that generally means you're going to leave. You know, sign out, leave, that kind of thing. Turning in is another thing people say. That generally just means that they're going to bed. But they'd be like, oh, I'm turning in for the night. I'm done. I'm turning in. That means that they're going to sleep, essentially. So, you know, calling it a day is what you would hear when someone is basically done with whatever they're doing and they're just through with it. They're either going home, they're leaving work, they're going to bed, or they're just quitting the task that's at hand. That's basically what that means. But yeah, that is 10 idioms that are absolutely mandatory to know if you want to speak good English and come to America. These are phrases you will hear and deal with every single day. And, you know, getting these down and understanding them will save you a lot of confusion in the future. But like always, that's the point of our channel. That's why we're here, to help you, to explain things, and to help you speak the perfect slang, natural sounding English. Like always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.